Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Harrison. I'd like to start by thanking my honourable friend for securing today's debate. I'd like to recognise her long-standing commitment to this issue as she's outlined to the House, but also as being one of my predecessors. I'm always very mindful of her as the chair of the Treasury Select Committee, that she is watching me keenly to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And I'm very glad that she's broadly in support of what the proposals are, and indeed this is one of the Edinburgh reforms that she is supporting very strongly. But as Economic Secretary, I want to make it clear, I share the Honourable Member for Westminster's ambition of ensuring that consumers can access the support that they need to make good financial decisions. And I welcome the opportunity provided by this debate to outline how I intend to achieve this. Now, one thing that the Honourable Lady said that is so important is the timing of this debate and the timing of these proposals. This has never been more important. Too often, many people in this country, particularly younger people, feel as though they do not have enough of a stake in our economy, in our society, and they want to make their money work hard, but they don't know where to start. Now, changes in our pension system, she mentioned the success of auto-enrollment, advances in technology, the cost of living, instabilities abroad are just some of the reasons why we increasingly need a financially savvy population. And indeed, she also mentioned the pension freedoms for older people in our society as well, which provides them with a lot of freedom economically to make these financially important decisions. Now, it is worth recognising, before I get on to the changes, the support that current guidance and advice services can offer consumers, and that those should not be ignored. The government established the Money and Pensions Service in 2019 to simplify the financial guidance landscape and provide support to consumers on important issues like benefits, budgeting and pensions. And the government works closely with the FCA to ensure that the financial advice market works well for both firms and consumers. And look, there's always more that we can do, but I do believe that we've made significant progress. In 2012, the Retail Distribution Review drove up the quality of financial advice, and in 2016, as indeed my honourable friend who was sitting in my spot at that time, the Financial Advice Market Review helps firms to support more consumers. However, she is right that further action is needed, because I share my honourable friend's concern that despite progress, many consumers still do struggle to make critical decisions about saving and investing or accessing their pensions and to access the right help and support. That is why in 2022, I was going to say last year, but we're now in 2024, the Chancellor announced that the government and the FCA would commence a joint review to examine the regulatory boundary between financial advice and guidance. And this review provides a key opportunity, probably the greatest opportunity over the last decade, to rethink the way support is delivered for consumers and to help close this advice gap that the Honourable Lady mentioned. In December, as part of the review, I was pleased to announce that the government and the FCA had published a joint policy paper that sets out the three initial proposals, which, either alone or taken together, it's worth making that point, these proposals, we are still thinking about them, we are developing them, and we will hope to get them delivered as best we can, represent real regulatory reform, and we need to act. Now, first, the paper considers whether changes to the FCA's regulatory guidance or new rules would allow regulated firms to move closer to the boundary and provide more support for their consumers. Because one of the difficulties is that we need to be able to, with the existing rules, give firms more confidence that they can move closer to this boundary, give advice and give support in ways that do not require legal changes, but they just need to be given the confidence to do that. For example, greater certainty for a firm wanting to contact a customer holding savings in cash to warn them of the detriment of inflation, or a pension provider proactively warning certain customers that they could be at risk of receiving an inadequate income in retirement. That is the sort of thing that we need to help firms give better support to customers. Second, the paper explores a new and innovative type of support which would allow firms to suggest a product or course of action to their customers. This suggestion would be tailored to a targeted group of customers and would be presented as appropriate for people like you. Take again, for example, a customer who is saving into a pension at a low rate that could lead to an inadequate income in retirement. Under this second proposal in the paper, based on very simple limited data points such as age and the size of an individual pot, the pension provider could suggest a broadly straightforward piece of advice to say that the customer could increase their contributions to a specific rate depending on their personal circumstances. And I'm very glad that the Honourable Lady said that this second proposal was a key proposal. Now, the final option explores a simplified advice regime which would allow consumers with a specific need to access low-cost financial advice. It's worth saying again, Madam Chair, you know, the cost of advice is prohibitive for a lot of people. And what we're proposing here isn't just a regulatory change, but it does need to make sure all of these options are commercially viable for more people. This final option would provide consumers with a recommendation personalised to their individual circumstances based on a more limited approach to fact-finding than full holistic advice. Of course.
I'd like to thank the Minister for summarising the three proposals again. Could he clarify which of those would need a vote in Parliament, and will he commit to bringing forward any necessary legislation with urgency? Minister.
I thank the Honourable Lady for that point. I will need to come back to her on whether there's a specific vote on primary legislation required. There would need to be, I think, secondary legislation to deal with certain aspects of these proposals, but I will follow up with her and write to her on the detail of that. And I do commit to moving forward as quickly as I humanly can. With a year left of the Parliament, I want to get this move forward as much as we possibly can, and it's something that I'm very passionate about doing. Now, on the third proposal, for example, I think these examples are important to get on the record. A consumer who has just inherited, for example, a small lump sum, as she mentioned, say £10,000 or £20,000, and wants to invest that but doesn't know where to start. Under this proposal, the consumer could receive simplified advice, which includes a suitability assessment and a personal recommendation as to how they should invest that sort of inheritance. Now, the paper will allow us to receive input from stakeholders to inform the details of each of these proposals as we progress this year. Because and in particular, other things that are going on in this area, there is, for example, the NatWest share sale that hopefully will be taken forward, that the Chancellor announced in the autumn statement that will be taken forward later this year. With that sort of retail offer to the public, you know, it is very important that we have, as best we can, as good a provision for support and guidance and advice for ordinary people as we possibly can. I'm committed to using my time in office to build the skills and trust of UK consumers, to bring back the confidence in our financial system that so many lost following the financial crash. And I'm confident that with further input from industry, the Honourable Lady, members of this House, consumer representatives, this paper can help to lay the groundwork for a new regulatory framework that will help firms manage risk, help consumers make good decisions, and ultimately build a more thriving, healthy financial services sector for us all. Thank you, Madam Chair.